Red, white, and blue, we're flying high. Sydney Roosters reach the sky. Eastern Suburbs. We took flight. Come on. Born in Bondi, so the skies ignite. From the east, our spirits rise. Red, white, blue, our story told. From nothing we rose, made our claim. Eastern pride, we built our name. Stronger now, we never fall. Rooster spirit standing tall. Yeah, come on, feel that pride. Let's go. Since the start, the legacy lives. Passion, power, the heartbeat gives. Red and blue, we walk with pride. Fears by sight, can't hide our vibes. Flags up high, crowd in sync. Roosters rule, we never blink. Eastern Suburbs. Da, 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 da. Eastern Suburbs. Da, 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 da. Red, white, and blue, we're flying high. Sydney Roosters reach the sky. Eastern Suburbs. Da, 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 da. Roosters! Get up! Feel that pride! Grand on fire, glory set. Fighting with fire, no regrets. Yeah! Every tackle, every try, hit hard.
I think we're live. We are live. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Sydney Roosters Diehards. My name is Hainsey, and I'll be taking through all your brand new Roosters news from the day it was, and all your news and opinions about the Sydney Roosters, all in one place here, your new home for all your Roosters news and up-to-date news and opinions about the Sydney Roosters. So great to have you here. Hope you guys are doing well. Just some quick groundskeeping. We'll be live every day around the same time, every day, delivering you all the Roosters news, opinions, thoughts on the day it was. And but make sure you hit the thumbs up button and subscribe to the channel. Follow us on the Sydney Roosters Diehards on Instagram for your breaking news on whenever they drop. Also like to give a special thank you to Raffaele by Design, who produced and created the Rooster song, Eastern Suburbs, da, 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 da. So shout out to them. Link is in the description. Feel free to give them a follow. They've got some banging songs there for all your teams, but there's obviously the big Roosters one there, which is our intro song. So shout out to them. Thank you for that. It's actually banging intro, by the way. So you'll see that on every live stream where we do every day. We'll also put up clips and breaking stuff, breaking news on here as well. So your new home for your Roosters news, opinions, and so much more. So thank you for tuning in. We've got a few of you in here today. So a bit of a recap of what's going on today. We'll be going through a few things. Obviously, what broke on Wednesday, the news that Daly Cherry Evans will sign with the Sydney Roosters next week. What does that leave Hugo Savala? Contract talks with Tommy Talau, and also November 1 today, meaning that is the first, which is the meaning that the transfer window is open, where players can sign ahead of the 2027 season. We'll be breaking down who's off contract going into 2027, who should we retain, who should we go after. And also a bit of a breaking story that announced a couple of hours ago in regards of the famous Caxton Hotel, and a famous Roosters chairman potentially has bought the Caxton Hotel. So we'll get into that a little bit later on. So thank you for tuning in. Thanks for watching, and hope you guys enjoy it over here for the next half an hour, towards around an hour. So thank you for tuning in. And if you guys in the chat got any questions to ask me about the Roosters going forward, feel free to put it into the chat and we'll answer them as we go along. Right, let's get stuck straight into it. I think it's time to get into the big talking point here, which got you guys here, is that Daly Cherry Evans has potentially signed with the Sydney Roosters as he's expected to walk into Roosters HQ next weekend or next week sometime and sign that 1-year deal with the Sydney Roosters going into 2026 with a potential option, a player option for 2027. Now, I've been optimistic about this signing ever since it was linked months ago about Daly Cherry Evans potentially going to the Roosters. I'm optimistic about it. I'm going to give you my thoughts, what are good thoughts, and what will work about Daly Cherry Evans and what will not work about Daly Cherry Evans, in my opinion. So, like I said, I'm on the fence. I'm still going to be on the fence with this signing until I'm proven otherwise. And if we are, am I proven otherwise, saying that it's a great signing, I'll put my hand up, be the first to say I got it wrong. Yes, I did cut myself on the way in, so that's why I look like that. So I do apologize. Okay, so what do I think this will work? Now, if you look at look what's out there at the market right now, that there is not a lot of players or halfbacks that have played over 300 games of first grade. Daly Cherry Evans, a premiership winning player with Manly, captain Queensland. He's actually captain Australia as well. 300 plus games of experience. You can't, hard to ignore the fact that, what he's done in this game in rugby league. So he can what benefits having him at this side, having, players coming through the ranks, halves coming through, like in particular Hugo Savala and Toby Rodwell coming through. They make, obviously the learn and shadow of Daly Cherry Evans is going to work wonders. And on top of that, you have a game manager like Daly Cherry Evans who, let's face it, right? If we look at the season that was, we were good, we were talented, but there was a lot of games where we just weren't able to ice off and finish those games and hang on to those wins. A guy like Daly Cherry my microphone just fell off. Do apologize. But yeah, so if you have a guy like Daly Cherry Evans in and around your ranks, I'll hold it like that for now. You have a guy like Daly Cherry Evans around in your ranks, who brings that that experience, that cool, calm collective, is going to benefit your side 100%. And I think what else is that we're not breaking the bank for it. And yeah, I think he's, him and partnering Sam Walker. I think what needs to be established though, that Daly Cherry Evans needs to realise. Well, I'm sure he will be, but I'm sure that the coaching staff, like Trent Robertson, will go to Daly Cherry Evans and say, "This is Sam Walker's team. This is your team. This is his team. What he says goes. Play that second fiddle to Sam Walker. And I think it will work wonders." Because I think it's fair to say that we haven't really nailed, at all a halfback ever since Cooper Cronk retired. It obviously is bringing the Cooper Cronk vibes to this as a shot to win a premiership. So, I can see the benefit of this working, but at the same time, I'll bring you to my why I don't think it can work. And back on finally, my final topic on this one is that, obviously people, going on thoughts about Daly Cherry Evans' form at Manly this season. Like, you also got to remember that, his play style at Manly is going to be, and his role at Manly is going to be a lot different to us at the Roosters. I just mentioned that it's going to be Sam Walker's team. He's going to play second fiddle to Sam Walker while he's not running this show. And no disrespect to Manly Seagulls whatsoever, but like, him at the Roosters, our forward pack will be able to get DCE more involved. It's fair to say, no disrespect to Manly whatsoever here, but like their forward pack have been lacking the last couple of seasons. So it's been very hard to get momentum off their forwards not doing their job. But when the guys like the Roosters, that's fair to say, it's up there, one of the best forward packs in the competition, that's going to benefit Daly Cherry Evans. And what do you think that Daly, what has worked well for Queensland is because he's had a forward pack to go off. So, but yeah, so they're my pros on that. And then now I'm going to bring you into what I don't think this is a good signing. So I've got my pros and my cons about it. So the reason why I don't think this is a bad idea, like I generally think the big concern is though that I think is that the fact that we found a good young half in Hugo Savala who played 21 first grade games last year, I think it's just the fact he's going to let that partnership build, you know. And Daly Cherry Evans is 37 years of age, right? And the fact that what surprised me was we signed him for a 1 year deal, but the player option, you know, that's the tough part about it. You know, why are we giving him a player option for 27 to sign him for 2 years? Essentially, while we got, you know, Hugo Savala there, you know, a pre-season under his belt, could, you know, and then him and Sam Walker have a full season together. And that's the thing, though, like, and we'll talk about Hugo Savala shortly. But the fact that we have Hugo Savala, who only played 21 games of first grade last year, but not to mention, I reckon he's played about 5 or 6 games with Sam Walker, and they lost 1 game or 2 games. And one of them was that Sam Walker got knocked out in that game. And that actually brings a good point about the DCE pro signing, is that, you know, Hugo had it's only 1 game, but like he had an opportunity to step up and, you know, didn't deliver on that occasion. So maybe time to develop and all that. So, but I just don't see the benefit of a 2-year deal for a 37-year-old halfback, you know, and the fact that we're going to risk losing Hugo Savala, which I don't think will. Like, I've got my doubts about him leaving. And, you know, but it's also in the back of the mind when, you know, Triple M, Dave Riccio reporting it, you know, obviously you're a bit concerned about it. But at the same time, like, you know, we've got a young kid there, you know, I'd love to see him just, you know, week by week, you know, strengthen that partnership with Sam Walker, you know, and, you know, obviously there might be thoughts about Hugo Savala changing into a lock or 14, who knows. But, like, I just think that with Daly Cherry Evans signing him for 2 seasons, you know, I think the main thing where I'm not behind this is the fact of risking losing Hugo Savala. So, but like, and a lot of people on that Cooper Cronk situation, you know, how that worked for us. It was a dramatic signing, right? It was a fantastic signing Cooper Cronk short term. For those 2 years that we did win back-to-back premierships at the time he was there, it was a masterstroke. But and then ever since then, in 2020 beyond, you know, we haven't really got that balance right as our halves combos. You know, we had Kyle Flanagan at the club in 2020, and I don't think he did an all too bad of a job. However, you know, it was cut out that he wasn't good enough to be the halfback of the Roosters. We bring in young Sam Walker in 2021, who is 18 years of age, and announced himself as the star of the future. In 2022, we got, after Luke Keary did his ACL in 2021, we got Luke Keary and Sam Walker together as a halves pairing, and we swapped them around. Luke Keary 7, Sam Walker 6. Did not work for most of the year. We got the balance right with Sam Walker and Luke Keary, Sam Walker at 7, Luke Keary 6, and we made finals, but we did get bounced out in week 1. 2023, you know, it was hot and hot and cold, hit and miss, till Sam Walker got injured. He came back, you know, made a decent finals run, and, you know, 2 minutes away from a prelim final in 2023. In 2024, that was probably the best year with Sam Walker and Luke Keary as a halves pairing, and unfortunately, it got cut short in round 25 that season, or round 26, I should say, when Sam Walker did his ACL and ended his season, when we were basically one hand in a top 2 finish that year, and we finished 3rd and we got bounced out in the prelim. And then obviously this year, we all know that, I wouldn't say a turmoil halfback selection, but obviously Chad Townsend, Sandon Smith, that didn't work out. We bring in young Hugo Savala. Sando and Hugo partnered really, really well. Then Sam Walker come back, and there was obviously Hugo and Sam Walker, and that started to gel and started to build really, really well. So I think that's the blueprint. Not, you know, but the fact that we're going to jeopardize that by signing Daly Cherry Evans, and, you know, even though I did say that his play style and his game management, and, you know, and his role at Manly is completely different to the Roosters. You know, all that speculation, all about where he's going to go over the entire, even though we had an idea where he's going, you know, had a lot back in their mind, and really derailed Manly's season this year. Let's be fair, you know, and obviously come 2026, you know, if we do sign, you know, obviously with Daly Cherry Evans expected to sign, you know, and obviously with the player option, there's going to be a lot of talk about, will DCE go on 1 more year? Will he sign another year? And then it obviously brings back into the Hugo Savala talk. If Hugo Savala does leave, how's the playing group going to accept that? Are we going to accept the fact that, a young Roosters junior, local junior, going to be walked out the door by a 37-year-old halfback who's come over from Manly? Like, how's the playing group going to respond to that? How are they going to feel about that? It could, could potentially derail the season. But what worked in 2018? Yes, Mitchell Pearce leaving the Roosters for Cooper Cronk was, it was heartbreaking as a Roosters fan to see Mitch, been shown the door after loyalty over 12 years of a service to the club. But you can just tell that, we weren't content with prelim final finishes. After the 13 premiership win, 2014 minor premiers bounced out in the prelim. 2015 won the minor premiers, bounced out in the prelim. 2017 was the final piece of resistance, right? We finished second. We played the 8th place Cowboys with no JT, Matt Scott, and we got beaten in the prelim final. And Mitchell Pearce was the halfback, and that was the final straw. That, yes, he's a good player, but is he the one to take us further? And obviously, you've got to think about this as well, that Daly Cherry Evans was apparently with all the Uncle Nick handshake deal, was way before Hugo Savala did debut as a 5'8". He debuted in round 2, but he played his first game in the halves in round 6 against the Broncos. So, but yeah, like obviously a lot of optimistic about it. Who knows where this goes? Obviously, it's set to be announced next week. I'm optimistic about it. I'm leaning towards a no at the moment. But, I'm happy to be proven otherwise. But, I think the main thing why I'm so against this, I'm just the risk or even the thought of letting Hugo Savala leave the club, his boyhood club, for Daly Cherry Evans. Obviously everyone's comparing this to the Cooper Cronk signing back in 2018, which was actually on Friday, yesterday or Thursday, was 7 years on since we announced that signing. So, but what are my thoughts on, it's just like Cooper Cronk was different compared to Daly Cherry Evans. But in saying that though, Daly Cherry Evans has over 300 plus games of experience, and you look at what the Broncos did this year. They signed, a relatively old halfback in Ben Hunt, who played multiple positions, come back to the Broncos after 10 years absence. And the Broncos won the premiership. So now as I think of it, it's starting to look more like a pro than cons to me. So, but that could change week on week. Like day by day, I have different feelings about it. But I'm keen to hear your thoughts. We'll get to the live chat. We've got a few in here. Thank you for tuning in. Make sure you hit that thumbs up button and subscribe to the channel. Really appreciate you guys being here. And all to your up-to-date news, feel free to follow us on Instagram at the Sydney Roosters Diehards. We've got, obviously, the poll in the live chat for you guys. Is DCE a good signing? 71% of you guys believe so, yes, and 29% of you no. So we've got 14 voters, so thank you. And so we'll have these polls throughout every video that we do. But yeah, okay. Need to get to the live chat here, guys. Where are we? Okay. This is the first video, guys. This is obviously yeah. All right, here we go. Braxton Cattell, you like the Talau signing? We will discuss that very, very shortly, so stick around, Braxton. We will have that in our show notes. Nathan Dallas says, will Radley play this season? Yes, I believe so. He's only suspended for 10 games. I'm sure with a good obviously he'll train the house down in that time. And then obviously it's not given his spot. He'll have to earn his way back into the team, and I'm sure Radley will 100% be capable of doing so. So I back Radley 100% to find his way back into the team. Jesse from Best Sport 2.0 says, hello, my brother. Thoughts on the Talau possible coming to our glorious team? I think we should just jump straight in there because a lot of people are asking that. Tommy Talau, has been linked with the Sydney Roosters. It's suspected that he was going to sign with the Super League. The Cowboys are interested, but obviously he's a free agent, and the Roosters are looking to buy Tommy Talau. I like it. I think he'll great some great depth coming forward. Well, obviously, it's still yet to be announced publicly, but Cody Ramsey is set to sign with the Roosters as well. Got young Toby Rodwell. His brother Tom Rodwell, Junior Tupou, Junior Ponga. So we've got some great young players coming through. As quality options. Obviously, with the Marky Mark heading to rugby in 2027, there's obviously going to fill a void there. But also, there's very uncertain what Daniel Tupou will do in 2026. Will he after 2026? Will he go around for one more year, or will he retire or go to the Super League? It's unknown with Daniel Tupou. That's sort of a week by week thing at the moment. But you can see that the Roosters are in the direction of looking for the future here. So they know that Tedesco is in the late stage of his career. They know that Daniel Tupou is in the late stage of his career. And then you've also the knowing that Marky Mark will be heading back to rugby union next in 2027, which will, fill a spot there. So I do like the fact that we're looking for, Tommy Talau. He's a good young footballer. There's just been so much talent ahead of him at Manly, and obviously this is going to be the case at the Roosters as well. But I wouldn't be surprised that we'll see a lot of Tommy Talau in stages of 2026 during the Origin period and all that kind of stuff. If there's injuries, I reckon he'll spend a bulk of his season in New South Wales Cup, and then come 2027, there's going to be maybe one but two winger positions available for a couple of players. So, I like it. I like the depth and the squad balance that we're trying to provide. So, definitely some options going forward. So I like it, depth signing, and I reckon we'll see the best out of him. And obviously reuniting as a club, the power couple at the club between him and Jess Surges. So them two together at the club, power couple established, obviously. So yeah, I like it. I really do. Okay, where are we up to here? Hainsey coming around. Shut up, Brady. Jake B. Hey, Jake, how are you? Jesse goes, DC behind Collins and White will make him a much better player than what we saw this year. 100%. I do believe in that, and I think I agree that he's he'll be better at the Roosters than he was at Manly this year. It's not the same with Cooper Cronk, I believe. Cooper Cronk won comps. Daly won one single ring as a rookie. No one near the same. I think I'm more the fact still pissed off that Daly Cherry Evans won the 2013 Clive Churchill medal. I still don't know how he won that. Anyway, Tyler says, has it been confirmed? Has it been confirmed that apparently it's been done? He's just waiting to sign the contract to be and then announced publicly. Sean, the league, I got him here now. The league scene 2017 was an all-time technical bed shit as well. Oh, we don't talk about 2017. That's painful. Sean Shepherd says, I'm not sure how I feel about DCE signing. Hugo has been doing really well, and having a full season with Walker and Savala would be great. Yeah, 100%. 100%. Expat Ollie says, hello, Hainsey. Hello, mate. How you doing? Jason Reader, one of my moderators on my channel, Hainsey_YT. Great to see you, Jason. I'm doing well, Ollie. Thank you for tuning in. So my thoughts on Hugo Savala, even though I gotta admit the fact that I got a little bit spooked by the fact that it might be shopped around by other clubs for Hugo Savala, but I can't see the club letting go a local junior in Hugo Savala. Local junior from Bronte, him and Radley right now, and probably Max McCarthy as well, are the ones that best describe what a local junior looks like. They eat, sleep, repeat Sydney Roosters. They love this club with all their heart. And, you can even just tell how Radley was after the situation that went on with him this year, how much, he felt he let the club down, and how remorseful he was, and how, upset he was at even the thought of him being let go by the club he loves. And I'm sure Hugo Savala wouldn't think it jeopardized leaving this club. I'm sure the club have been with this decision for a while now about Daly Cherry Evans, and I can just see a world. I can't see a world where the Roosters have just gone to Hugo Savala and not telling him what's going on. I'm sure that the Roosters would be sitting down with Hugo the last couple of months or so, last couple of weeks, saying, this is our plans. We might transition you into a 13. You bite your bullet as a utility for the next year or two, benefit and develop under Daly Cherry Evans. We can see the benefit of you long term. I think that's the way they do it. But the way I see Daly Cherry Evans signing, though, but the thing is though with Hugo Savala, which can blow up in our faces here. What if Hugo goes, this is my boyhood club. I played 21 games of first grade this year. I got us from where we were in the bottom 4 in round 5, got us up into a semi-final, was elimination final. When no one expected us to make the finals this year. And then the club decide to go and sign a 37-year-old halfback for Manly. What does that show to Hugo Savala? It shows that, they don't trust him. They don't believe in him. Where instead, they should have backed him. I'm sure they're still backing him. But, that's maybe how he feels. I don't know. But that could be a possibility. So that's why it's a risk signing Daly Cherry Evans. And I've got to be honest with this. If we don't win the comp next year, I think it'll be even a grand final minimum. If we don't make the grand final next year, it will be considered as a disaster signing. What's the point of signing Daly Cherry Evans where we just make the 8 or we make a prelim final kind of thing? So that's what we got to consider with this. So, but I can't see Hugo Savala not being in the Roosters' plans going forward. It's and I can't see Hugo Savala, abandoning the club after, because after, where this has been in the back of the mind of the Roosters for a long time now. So, yeah, that's my thoughts on it. The Roosters board expect premierships. They will do recruiting, whatever. Yes. I agree. Like, we're a ruthless team. We're a ruthless, but I'm sure we wouldn't do that to a local junior in Hugo Savala. I just can't see it with that too cold. The league scene says, how do you see Robson coming in full off-season work to his benefit? Yeah, 100%. I've been so impressed with the announcement that we signed Reece Robson about this time last year. I've been really excited to see Robson come into the club. Obviously, during the Origin series, even though New South Wales didn't win the Origin this year, but seeing, Robson and Watson combination working, like as they together, it's promising scenes. And I think we've been looking for this kind of hooker since Jake Friend retired. I know Sam Verrills was good. Obviously went to the Titans. Brendan Smith, don't think that was the right decision signing him as a long-term hooker, but I think Reece Robson, absolutely a great signing here. I'm really looking forward to Reece Robson as a hooker. Defensive mindset, control. He's really good defensively. Both sides of the ruck, he's really good at doing his job, and I think, he plays big minutes. He can definitely hold a spot down there in the middle forward there as a hooker going forward. Really looking forward to it. And, I can just see the benefit of having a Reece Robson in the club going forward. Do you think DCE will struggle with that pressure that he's kind of expect to take us to a grand final in 26? Yeah, that's a big question as well, Dan. Thank you for commenting. That's also in the back of the mind as well. There's going to be a lot of media attention. All the media after even just one loss. If we lose round 1, the headlines are going to be going, was DCE the right fit for the Roosters? Robbo, is he under pressure? The headline's going to be written already. So that's why this much media attention isn't really worth it when we sign a Daly Cherry Evans, a high, because I can put my mind back to, 2018. We lost round 1 to the Tigers, when we signed Tedesco, Cooper Cronk. The headlines were in the first month of the season after that loss to the Dragons on Anzac Day. Was this the right signing from the Roosters? Have they done well? Has it blown up in their face? And I'm expecting it to be, we're not going to hit the ground running early, but we're going to build our way into a premiership window next year, into a premiership run. So I don't think it's going to be, smooth sailing early, but I think within time it'll build, hopefully. Gina says loves Watson, a lot of force. Braxton, I do like Tommy Talau signing. I did mention that Braxton. Sorry, I do like it. Jake says, we've been wrong about recruitments before. Hope we're wrong this time. I like Daly. I want him to do well. I do so too. Like, look, I'm not the biggest fan of Daly Cherry Evans because he's, obviously Queenslander, Manly. But he's a Rooster. I'll back him, support him, and hopefully does well. For Roosters fans, you must be hoping that this DCE signing actually works. It's not just a flop. Yeah, it's got to work. It's a big risk signing a Daly Cherry Evans, especially with the prospect of, letting go of Hugo Savala, putting his happiness and at risk, and his love for the club could be in jeopardy if he takes it the wrong way. So it needs to work. That's what I'm saying. It needs to work. Robson, Watson, and Ielu. Do you think we still have Ielu in the 17 next season? He's a rookie that is so promising. Would hate to see him out the door. Well, until the Daly Cherry Evans announcement come on Wednesday, I was looking because I was like, there's a lot of stuff about Daly Cherry Evans going to the Sharks and all that kind of stuff. After I was at Suncorp Stadium on Sunday for the Pacific Championships between Tonga and Samoa, and seeing how well Benaya played at hooker, as a starting hooker, played big minutes and all that. He's an established first grade hooker going forward, and seeing him in the side as a 14, yes, because I can obviously, and it helps in his case having Radley suspended for the first 10 weeks of the season. We're going to have Connor Watson playing 13 or in the Fahu White, so I can definitely see Watson being 13, Benaya 14, and they can rotate between. And obviously, it's hard though having an extra hooker on the bench because, especially with a player like Reece Robson who plays big minutes, plays close to 80 minutes. So where do you play Benaya elsewhere? But you have maybe if DCE comes and plays 6, Sam Walker 7, have a Hugo at 14. We can put Hugo on elsewhere. Play him as a lock, and then we can play Connor Watson 9 kind of thing. So I think it'd make more sense having Reece Robson 9 and have Hugo 14, Watson 13. But, definitely benefiting having Benaya in the 4. It's going to be hard. I think we've got to find a way to have, either Benaya or Hugo into the 17 at somewhere. You know what I'm trying to say there. Imagine the headlines if after one season DCE becomes a flop and ends up retiring. It's a big risk. Even if he wins the comp, if he wins the comp next year and then retires, I think there'll be no complaints whatsoever. But the headlines if we don't win the comp next year are going to be written already. Before we move on, I do have some questions on the Instagram at the Sydney Roosters Diehards, obviously. Excuse me. So make sure to follow us on Instagram if you haven't. Link is in the description. Every day we'll be putting these questions up on our news story, and feel free to ask them. And I want to ask your thoughts. Hear your thoughts from the in that. Okay, got a couple in here. So start from Ken. He reckons wrong, very wrong. Dill Scout, I believe it's Dylan. If we don't lose anyone else over it, I'm happy. Yes, I'm for sure. If it was a 1-year deal, we don't lose Hugo Savala, I'm happy with it. Obviously, gutted to see Sanders Smith out the door, but I think that's worked out well for both. We released some cap space. Sandoz will play regular first grade at Newcastle. I think that's worked out well. But if we lose Hugo Savala, that's when I'm like, nah, don't like it whatsoever. During the Jeff Aritz, I believe, during the season was opposed, but from the finals match against the Sharks, he's needed. Yes, I again agree with that one as well. Like, I can see the benefit of it, with game management and all that. And I think someone commented on my post when I announced it that, his decision was made up when, we lost Sam Walker in that game against Parramatta and Hugo wasn't able to deliver. So, he's still young and still has a lot of experience, a lot to learn about first grade. So, like I said, the pros of it, having a Daly Cherry Evans there would help. Rooster _ the Viking, an awesome mentor for off-field and long-term playing for young guns. Yeah, I agree as well. Like, I think, a lot to give, a lot to learn, especially having him for the next seasons or two, with developing Hugo. But also we've got Toby Rodwell in the ranks as well. He's around 19 years of age, and I think he's then another 4 or 5 years away from being an established first grader. Maybe a bit quicker with the development. But, it definitely helps having that 300-plus games of experience there. D_long_13. It's okay as long as we don't lose any more young guns, in particular Hugo. Yeah, we established that, but yeah, 100%. Apprehensive, optimistic. I feel bad for Savala. I was also apprehensive when we signed Croc. I was too. Like, don't get me wrong. I was too. Mainly because I was worried about long term. Yeah, short term, we're going to have a great signing in Cooper Croc. 1-2 comps. But then he did retire. Then, I think it's fair to say last 4 to 5 years, we haven't really got that balance right in the halves department. And I think we're starting to get there. Good if we keep Hugo. If not, don't want him. Yeah, I'm the same. If we keep Hugo, great. Transition him into a lock 14 and then put him back in the halves afterwards. But if we don't, no. Yeah, I don't like it if we don't sign him. If we win the comp, great. If we lose Hugo, not so great. Yeah, 100% Jackson and Sam, both very similar. Christopher Ferguson says fantastic. Matt_Namvar says crap. D Hoey _ absolute dog shit. Didn't know you were in the golden oldies comp. Waste of money and talent. Yeah, he's old enough to play rugby league masters. But yeah, so you can see here bit mixed opinions about it. Let's get it over and support DCE and the Roosters a positive signing. Yeah, sure we have our opinions on it now, and then when it comes to crunch time, he's in the red, white, and blue. Let's get behind him, support him, and back him all the way. Alan says, love it, very smart. Nicholas says, no. Bonza.private, don't need him. Sarkis, 1986, biggest mistake ever. We don't need him. He should have retired. And yeah, that's all our comments there. Look, retire, yes, no, that's up to him. I don't think he should be forced to retire. I think it's up to him. I think he's earned the strides in the rugby league. He's done everything in the game of rugby league to decide when he's done. That's my opinion on it. Jake says, heard Xavier Va'a is getting moved on. Not getting moved on, but he has been. The Titans are interested in Xavier Va'a. Actually saw Xavier and his brother Zal at Suncorp on last Sunday, and didn't mention this, Xavier. If you're watching, why didn't you tell me? But no, look. Obviously the Titans are interested in it. Obviously, this is going to be very depending on the Tino situation. I believe that Xavier's 22 years of age. He's up from Caboolture, so he's obviously up from Queensland. Obviously, it's hard though if you're like a Xavier Va'a when you your debut this year, which was great. Had a little bit unlucky with concussions this year, but he's done a great job in New South Wales Cup the last year or two. It's the thing though. Like, are you? The question though, like, are you willing to wait and earn your spot into the team? Because there's so much stacked forward packs at this, forwards in this club. Like you look at our, you just look at our club right now for our forwards going forward, right? So you got front rowers, your two big dogs, the Fahu White, Lindsay Collins, Spencer Leniu. And then obviously on the bench, you've got, Blake Steep coming forward, Celeste Fiketti, Egan Butcher, and then you obviously got Xavier Va'a and Desal Va'a. So you got 7 front rowers in the club right now. So like obviously it's hard to say. And the thing though, which helps us as a club going forward, squad wise, is that I probably say the oldest front rower in our side is Lindsay, and he debuted 8 years ago. So he's still got a lot of years left, Lindsay, right? And you look at it, Nafahu White debuted in 2021, Spencer 2020, 2019. But that was obviously at Penrith. Blake Steep debuted last year. Egan Butcher, 2021. Celeste Fiketti debuted this year. So you can see the narrative, right? So we've got a lot of young front rowers coming through the ranks. It's not an aging forward pack, kind of say, like a Manly or, like Melbourne, in some ways. So I think like having a very young forward pack and, mature forward pack, there's not a lot of players going to be moved on in recent times. So, obviously if I'm, Xavier, you got to, bite the bullet and bite your time, or, there's an opportunity to play first grade, especially, going forward, we've got the new teams coming forward. We've got obviously PNG in 2028. The Perth Bears, as of today, are able to sign their first players. So, obviously got to have that in the back of your mind. So, look, not too sure where this goes. Obviously, it's just a bit of a rumor. that Xavier Vata might be, has been linked with the Titans. We'll find that out more. I'm not too sure what his contract situation is at the moment. Obviously, we'll go into the next segment very, very shortly about it. But there wasn't really much about, when the transfer window opened, Roosters players off contract. Didn't say Xavier Vata, so I don't know what he's on. Is he on a train trial development or he's on a multi-year deal? I'm not too sure. So, but yeah, I'm sure that there might be more about it going forward. The extra year player clause on his contract, how do you think that come into play? Would a premiership activate that or even making a grand final? I think it's just up to him whatsoever, what he decides to do. Maybe that if we don't win the comp next year, he might think I still have more to give, or even if a premiership is like, I want to go around one more time. That's all that because there's a player option. It's up to Daly Cherry Evans what he decides to do. That's not the Roosters. That's not a club calls. It's a player calls. So he can decide whatever he wants to activate that. So maybe midway through the season, he's feeling good. His body's feeling good. He's like, I'm going to go around one more year. So, that's we won't know anything about that till towards the back end of next year. That's my truth on that. Okay, so going into the next subject that we've got here. So obviously today is November 1, and this is why, obviously a bit of a risk for me start launching the page today, considering the fact that it is November 1. Obviously we're, in the final, only a month on since the grand final. So, we're getting into the depths of an NRL off season, and obviously November 1 though is today the start of the transfer window, and there is I've highlighted here as obviously players are allowed to sign with other clubs for the 2027 season that are off contract at the end of this year in the 2026. So there is 5 players here from the Roosters that have been highlighted as they're off contract in 2027. So got James Tedesco, Daniel Tupou, Angus Crichton, Siwa Wong, and Hugo Savala. So I wrote down some notes here on around about these players and where I think this will lead to. So obviously we'll start off with the captain, James Tedesco. There's no doubt the club will be looking to re-sign Teddy. There's already talks in the contract extension for Teddy, keeping him Bondi for 2027 and potentially 2028. Look, I think that it's just sort of he's at the stage of his career now, Teddy, where he's going to go year by year contract. I don't think the Roosters are they're sort of covering themselves, not giving Teddy a long-term deal, then something happens kind of thing. So it might seem harsh, but that's where they operate, the Roosters. So obviously, I think, there is no doubt, no question that Teddy will be inking a new deal with the Roosters. There was already talk about it at the end of this season. So I think over the next couple of months, Teddy will sit down and ink a new deal, maybe for a potentially 2-year deal extension, and then go until he decides he's done. Daniel Tupou. Toops, I reckon with Toops I think it's now he's in the back end of his career. I think he has every right to decide when he's done. I know there was talk that the club might have even been thinking about letting him go to the Super League. I don't think the Roosters will be doing that. I think it'd be stupid to think of that the Roosters let him go. I think it's the Roosters we'll sign him 1-year deals until he decides I've had enough. And he's played for around this is going into his 14th, 15th season now, Toops. So I think the Roosters will be looking. I don't think we'll hear much about Daniel Tupou until probably mid-year. It just depends on how his body's feeling. If he's feeling good, body's still going well, he'll probably be looking for a new deal, for another 1-year deal extension. If it's starting to break down, niggling injuries, that might be the final straw for him in this awesome career of his. So, selfishly, I'd love to see him crack the 200 try club and become the most capped Roosters player of all time. He's got about 20 to 30 games left. Hopefully, in one more year, he gets the 200 tries, most capped Roosters player of all time, retires into the sunset, one of the best Roosters players of all time, and one of the most underrated players of all time. So that's what I see about there with Daniel Tupou. Angus Crichton, it'll be a dogfight to keep Gus. Obviously, with a home rugby World Cup, there's been talks from his management that, he wants to return to rugby. Obviously, he played rugby when he was a kid, so there's a desire there. Obviously, with Marky Mark going to rugby and his mate, and also his best mate Suoliti over there. So there's obviously talks about it, but it is stipulated that he has said though that Gus won't leave the Roosters unless he's going to rugby. It's the Roosters or bust kind of thing. So I think we're just going to take that day by day, week by week kind of thing. But yeah, Jake, you're right, mate. I'm going to highlight this one. Like, rumors always come around when Gus is going to Union. What about the last one? When Gus was in talks of his contract last year, there was talks that he's going to Western Force. So I think that it's like with Sam Walker's off contract. Is he going to return back to Brisbane? It's just part of the media being the media. So, I'm confident we'll see Gus re-sign, but, it'd be very, very interesting what happens there. And lastly, Hugo Savala. Obviously, DCE agreeing to that deal. Unclear of the future of Hugo Savala, but I'm confident that he will re-sign it as well. I'm sure the club will have contract talks with Hugo, and he'll be in the long term with the Roosters. And last one here is Siwa Wong. Siwa will be priority re-signing. He is unlikely to sign elsewhere. That's what I've got written down. That is 100% a key signing to lock down Hugo Savala. 100%. I think Siwa will re-sign. It's just managing the cap, all that kind of stuff, finding out the right stuff there for Siwa. So I still think Siwa will be remaining a Rooster as well. And this will bring into the last topic. Didn't have this written down earlier, but we do have this broken a couple of hours ago. Jake says, thoughts on Uncle Nick buying the Caxton? LOL. I've got a little bit of a statement here from, obviously, Buzz Rothfield from the Daily Telegraph. Billionaire Sydney Roosters chairman Nick Politis has purchased Queensland's most iconic pub, the Caxton Hotel. The paperwork has been signed in recent days in a $50 million deal with the Farquhar family, who have owned the famous Rugby League Hotel for 28 years. The sale has revealed on a Queensland government website under liquor and gaming, public registers and notices with a pending approval. Wow, what do we think of this one? Like, look, a bit weird, kind of thing, but like, Uncle Nick can do whatever he wants. He's Uncle Nick is worth $4 billion, and he has that money lying around. He thinks he's buying the Caxton. Sure, he's obviously. I think he's like an OAM in Queensland Rugby League. I think he donated like $25,000 when that first started, kind of thing. So I think he's a life member of Queensland Rugby League as well. So I'm not too sure what this means. I can't see the Caxton changing whatsoever. It's an iconic pub, historic pub, one of the best in Rugby League. I think the only difference we're going to see about the Caxton is we're going to see some Rooster jerseys in there, so which is going to be fantastic to see. And I'm sure all the Broncos fans that go to the Caxton regularly are going to be pissed off to see a Roosters jersey in the Caxton. So I don't see too much about it. This is actually funny. When I saw it today, I'm like, what? This is so bizarre. But like, Uncle Nick does what Uncle Nick does. So, could you imagine the scenes though? Like if the Roosters play at Suncorp next year, they got the top of the Caxton where Alfie Langer did the famous six more songs on the table. We can see some Roosters functions outside the Caxton after a Roosters win against the Broncos next year. That's going to be all time. So, yeah, look, a bit bizarre. So I don't think it has any effect on the Caxton or the Roosters whatsoever. So very cool on that. Has anyone else got any questions before we wrap this up? So before we wrap things there, we've been on for 50 minutes now. That's what I wanted to do, around about 45 minutes to an hour. This is what's going to be pretty much regularly on the over the next pretty much throughout the off season and then come around, when we hit the preseason, all that kind of stuff. We'll and talk about going forward into the preseason, what thoughts on the upcoming season, and all that kind of stuff. And then round about, when the season starts, we'll obviously have, previews, reviews, all that kind of stuff on the channel as well. So stick around, guys. It is going to be a lot of fun on here. We'll be in around the same time tomorrow with all your Roosters news and opinions from the day. And yeah, looking forward to seeing you then. Thank you for tuning into the first episode. We're going to have about over 100 viewers here so far. So very, very good. Brody, come here, mate. We're going to pack out the Caxton or what, mate? 100%, bro. 100%. Like, we're going to be decking out the Caxton red, white, and blue next year. I can't believe Nick Ply's bought the Caxton. It's so bizarre, but it's so funny. But thank you for tuning in, guys. I really hope you guys enjoyed it. Thanks for tuning in. Make sure you smash that like button, subscribe to the channel. Give us a follow on the Instagram for all your breaking news from the Sydney Roosters. And if you'd like to give me a follow and subscribe to my channel, Hanks_T, be muchly appreciated. Thank you for watching, guys. I'll see you in the next one. Until then, we'll see you tomorrow.